Yay, we're trying to record on technology on phone. We'll see how it works out. Wednesday, December 6th, as we get into chapter, we can talk about killing people here in a moment. Let's see, homework due tomorrow, book report due early on Friday, toys for tots, bring in toys, get tots, no. Bring in toys for the tot. It's not an exchange program, but you get B points, and then the dance was canceled. I don't know when. Maybe it gets rescheduled. If it does, I'll be happy to tell you, but I have no idea what it is for now. Your reading checkpoints coming up, due Friday, then to chapter 6, as we're going to talk about 5 and 6. Hopefully begin 5 in a moment. And then from there, Kennedy.
For chapter 8 and like the rest of them, it's the end. Like, okay.
We're going to talk about that. Like after Sunday, we're going to talk about what happened in chapter 8. And then after next Friday, we're going to talk about what happened in chapter 10.
Okay.
All right. And then let's see. So we got to the drive-in restaurant, which was at the very beginning when they were walking along on their way to the drive-in theater. They get to the drive-in theater. Who goes to the, which greasers go to the drive-in theater? Soda. There's 3 that go together. Oh. Which are?
Dally, Johnny,
And then who shows up later?
Good
job. All right, so now we're good to go. And then while they're there, who do they meet that ends up becoming important?
Cherry
and
Marsha.
Cherry and Marsha. And Cherry and Marsha are there because they're on dates. And why they leave their dates? Dates got all drunk, which is going to play a role here coming up in a moment too. So they left their dates like, you all drunk, yo? And so they take off, and then they get all flirty flirt. And that's when we find out that Dallas is a big fat jerkwad. And then we have the issues back and forth, and Johnny stands up to him, and we find out that Johnny got beat. What do we know about the person that beat up Johnny back in the day?
He blew.
Had rings.
Rings on his
There you
hand.
go, the whole bunch of rings on the hand. Ooh, and then what does Johnny declare? Well, if anyone tries to jump him again, foreshadowing. If anyone tries to ever jump me again, not over my dead body, I'm going to kill them. And then they walk home. On their way home, who shows up as they're walking the girls home? Bob and Randy and the other socias, and they get all upset, and that's when they try to do the fight, the smashing of the beer bottle and the stabby thing. And that's when they show up in the blue Mustang, and they're like, hey, you took our women. They're like, we didn't take your women, they left you. And they get there smashing of the beer bottle, like, we're going to stab you. And they're like, you're not going to stab us. And Sherry's like, no stabbing tonight. We're like, we're all just going to hug it out, and things are great. And so from there, then they leave. After they take off, Ponyboy and Johnny go to an empty lot. If you don't know what an empty lot is, it's where in neighborhoods where they're building houses and they've not built a house yet. The Anderson Hall has a lot of empty lots right now where they just have spots. There's like, someday a house is going to be here, but right now it's just an empty field. That's an empty lot. You have some neighborhoods where you still have empty lots, like Woodbury. They have a number of spots where it started off like, we're going to put a house here, but no, we decided not to. And so now it's just like a big, empty, like grassy area. Same thing that you're going to have in like the neighborhoods right around here. We have like a spot, we have like just a grassy spot. That's an empty lot. So when they go to this empty lot to hang out and play football and stuff like that, it's just a spot where you could have a house, but there's not, and it's just grass. It's an empty lot. So it's not like a parking lot, it's a grassy, like little field meadow type thing. They go there, and what do Johnny and Ponyboy do while they're there?
Sleep.
Fall asleep. It's been a long day. They're exhausted. They go, Ponyboy wakes up, goes running home. When he gets home, what happens? Gary slaps him. Now, before we start jumping to conclusions on that one, how old is Derry? 20 years old. So realize he's not a whole lot older than you. And for those of you who have older siblings, probably not a whole lot older than them. And he's in charge of this family of 2 teenage boys. 2 teenage boys by itself, scary. And so him being a 20-year-old in charge of them, even more scary. Plus, if the police ever get involved with their family, what's going to happen?
They have to separate homes.
That's where they have to go to a boys' home. Another name for an orphanage or something like that. So if the police get called in for anything, he worries about them getting sent to an orphanage. Well, what happened the very day before with Ponyboy?
Oh, he got jumped.
He got jumped on the way home. Now imagine you're Derry. You're responsible for these 2 brothers. It's late at night. You knew your brother went out to the movies, but then doesn't come home, and now you're worried that those socias came back to jump him again. But if you call the police, what might happen?
They go.
They get taken away. If you don't call the police, what might happen? So now you're sitting there going, do I call the police? Do I not call the police? Do I send my brother to a boys' home or let him get killed by socials? Which one? Oh my God, oh my God. And while you're trying to do this and you're freaking out, should I call, should I not call? In walks your teenage brother just going, and just like walks in the house like, where are you? And he's like, I'm just out doing my thing because I'm a teenager. You can't control me. And he's like, I was worried. And he's like, I don't care because I'm a teenager. That's where Derry is when he ends up slapping him. And it's not because Derry's violent or awful or mean. He's 20 years old and freaking out. And he's like, the whole dealing with teenagers, it makes the most passive, or like, teenagers! And you just want to, not that I would ever, no. But that's where he is when he reacts. And right after he slaps him, what does Derry do?
He runs away.
Derry doesn't run away.
Oh, he does sorry.
That's when he's like slapping. He's like, oh my God, what did I just do? But of course, Pony Boy, being a dramatic teenager,
Runs away.
takes off running. He's like, I hate you. I hate all adults. Adults are awful. Yeah. And he takes off running away. Goes and grabs Johnny. And where do they go?
Church.
No, they go to the park.
They go to the park.
They go to church.
They need some church. That's not right. They go running off to the park. And that's where they're going to hang out there. He's like, oh, I need a cigarette, because cigarette makes everything better. I know it. And so they're sitting out there smoking cigarettes, hanging out, relaxing. While they're there, who shows up? Now, not just any random socias. Bob and Randy. While we're sitting there, and we have Pony Boy and Johnny watching Bob and Randy, Pony Boy and Johnny do what most teenagers do, which is get sassy. And they start sassing them back and walking like, oh, you think you're so special, so it's just meh, 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 meh. And of course, what have Bob and Randy been doing all night? Drinking. As we know, for some reason, teenagers plus drinking does not equal good choices. And so they're like, oh, we're really drunk, and now we're full of anger, and now we've got a bunch of greasers. Let's put this together. And they decide to help out Pony Boy. And how are they going to help out Pony Boy? By giving him a haircut. One of the big themes of this book is it's not a haircut, I apologize. They're going to wash his hair, which is why one of the big themes of our book is why you should never have alcoholic barbers, because nothing good comes from it. Because here they get drunk and they try to then like, we're going to wash your hair, and bad things happen. Because you're like, scrub-a-dub-dub, drown kid in a tub. And so it doesn't work out well. So they're in the process of trying to wash his hair. They push poor Johnny down like, you got to wait your turn. We're not professional barbers. And they push him down while doing their barbering thing. But while they're doing that, what does Johnny do? Now, here's where things get a little iffy, because you have to realize, why is it that Johnny stabs Bob?
Because he's
He's the one who beat him up.
There you. It's not self-defense.
What?
Because he's not in the process of being attacked. It's not to save Pony Boy. Because what you have to realize what's going on is, let's say that we have Johnny right here. And I'm Johnny.
So I get the switchblade?
I'll be Johnny. I'm not giving you.
I'm Johnny. What?
So if I'm Johnny, and this is Bob,
It's okay, no one
Bob is not doing the actual drowning. In the book, it's Bob who does the managing, because he tells another social, he's like, hey, Dave, go grab him. And he tells this other social to go grab him and do the whole hair washing thing, while Bob stands off to the side. So if I were to see poor Abio drowning poor Delaney, and I'm like, Abio, you're drowning Delaney, and I want to save Delaney, who should I stab? Abio. But I don't. I go, oh my God, you're attacking her. Stab. And I stab someone over here like, well, that's not going to help him over there. You're right. It's because he has a reason to stab Bob. And what's his reason to stab Bob?
Because
of the rings from before. So he stabs Bob not for self-defense, not to save his friend,
to get revenge,
but out of revenge.
Karma!
And so now he goes over there and does the whole stabby thing for revenge, because he said earlier, ain't no one gonna do that to me, because the next time I'm gonna go all stabby. Well, they're trying to do it again, so he goes all stabby. At this point, has Pony Boy done anything wrong?
No.
So far, he's innocent. He showed up, maybe being out too late and being sassy, but I don't think that's really enough to go to jail for. Once he wakes up, though, what's the first thing Johnny says to him?
Let's run
I
away.
killed that guy.
I killed that boy.
I killed.
Because as soon as Ponyboy wakes up, Johnny's sitting there with a knife going, I killed that boy with this knife. I did it. I stabbed that boy with this knife. He's dead because of me. So that is a
When I used his
confession.
knife.
As soon as Ponyboy knows that a crime has been committed,
He's like, oh, we gotta get out.
he has to turn in his friend. That's where he breaks the law. As soon as Ponyboy is aware of a crime being committed, you have to turn it in. If you don't turn it in, you become an accomplice after the fact. And so that's when Ponyboy says, instead of, hey, sucks to be you, I gotta go to the Popos now, instead he's like, hey, we should go run away together. That's when he breaks the law, by not turning in his friend. Seth,
Okay, are you actually Bob though? Because first off, you're wearing like
hold
3.
that thought. Terhune?
Couldn't have Johnny somehow done it to save Ponyboy because by stabbing Bob, it was revenge. But didn't it also scare away the other Socias and that did save Ponyboy?
But that wasn't the
I mean, you're welcome to try and pull that into an argument if you wanted to.
Happiness.
But I mean, that's once again why we have these things called lawyers in the courtrooms. Because you can be like, he did it to scare off all the other ones because it was the closest one. Yeah, that's why. What? He had a history between them. That's coincidence. And so that's why we love lawyers. Because
They're smart. They have big brain.
Braden.
I just want to say 2 things real quick. First of all, I was reading like about the author
Yeah.
and like the preface to the book, and it turns out the writer, like it actually first of all kind of happened in a
You
way.
did?
Ponyboy's name was inspired because the writer liked horses, and apparently the writer is of the other gender, so I'm not sure how that all played out.
Yeah, she's a girl. Susan Elaine Hinton. But we'll get to all that later on. There's a whole big thing at the back of it where it says like that bonus material. There's a whole big interview and you get to find out a bunch more stuff. And then she wrote it when she was 16 years old too. Because she got tired of her teachers giving her crap books to read. So she said, I could write a better book than what you keep making me read in class. And they're like, whatever. And so she wrote it and it's like, oh, you did a pretty good job. And she wrote it about her friends. And so yeah, but that's a discussion for another day. For now, we're busy killing Bob. So now Bob's dead and Ponyboy and Johnny decide they need to get help. So who is the person they're going to turn to?
Dally!
The person who they know gets in the most trouble. They go to Dally. Choo-choo, did that there. If you're not familiar with what a jeans jacket is, because it might not be as popular and in style now, that's what a jeans jacket is. It's like made like jeans, but it's a jacket. And so that's what they're going to be wearing later on in the story. Ooh, when they take off, where is it they go? They go to a church. Where is the church?
Knoxville, Leamington.
Close, Windricksville. And they go to a place called Windricksville because that's where Dally tells them, hey, there's this old church that I know about. We can get there. You can get there. And how do they get there? They don't buy tickets. They jump on like a bunch of hobos in the middle of the night. And then that's when they get to the train and they go hang out. And we get to this random abandoned looking church on top of a hill. And that's where they end up hanging out. Now we're caught up to chapter 5. That's where I want to get to. I wanted to go through the whole stabbing and fun information like that. And I wasn't Bob. I was Johnny. You were Bob.
No, but you're Bob because you have the little like you have your knuckles are all like
They are.
scratched up and you're wearing rings. Like you just
Also
so you
true.
just jumped someone and beat them.
Yeah, I can't say that's
What do you mean? He's been in jail multiple times.
Yeah, exactly. That's even more
I've been in
evidence.
jail. I've been arrested.
Well, he's not
There's
dead on the
different
Oh,
ways.
he's been arrested.
You see,
You can be arrested without going to jail.
I know.
Yeah, several times.
All right, page 68. That's where we're going to pick up and go. Now they're at the church, and we get to go through there and find out what happens. So I'm going to give you a picture of the church. That is not the church from the book because the church in the book is make-believe.
Oh, really?
We got all excited.
What? It's make believe?
I hate
Oh,
to tell you.
whoa, wait. So where are they right now?
Oh, they're on page 68.
Oh, nice.
I woke up late in the afternoon. For a second, I didn't know where I was. You know how it is when you wake up in a strange place and wonder where in the world you are until memory comes rushing over you like a wave. I half convinced myself that I dreamed everything that had happened the night before, that I'm really home in bed, I thought. It's late and both Derry and Soda Pop are up. Derry's cooking breakfast, and in a minute he and Soda will come in and drag me out of bed and wrestle me down and tickle me until I think I'll die if they don't stop. It's me and Soda's turn to do the dishes after we eat, and then we'll all go outside and play football. Johnny and Two-Bit and I will get Derry on our side since Johnny and I are so small and Derry's the best player. It'll go like the usual weekend morning. I tried telling myself that while I lay on the cold rock floor, wrapped up in Dally's jacket and listening to the wind brushing the trees' dry leaves outside. Finally, I quit pretending and pushed myself up. I was stiff and sore from sleeping on that hard floor, but I'd never slept so soundly. I was still groggy. I pushed off Johnny's jeans jacket, which had somehow gotten thrown across me, and blinked, scratching my head. It was awful quiet, just the sound of rushing wind in the trees. Suddenly, I realized that Johnny wasn't there. "Johnny!" I called loudly, and that old wooden church echoed me. "Johnny! I looked around wild, but almost panic-stricken, but then caught sight of some crooked lettering written in the dust of the floor. "Went to get supplies. Be back soon. JC." Who's JC?
Johnny
And his last name is?
Johnny Cake.
Cade, not Cake. That's
Johnny
Cade.
Cake.
C-A-D. Curtis is the pony boy.
They call him Johnny Cake.
I sighed and went to the pump to get a drink. The water from it was like liquid ice, and it tasted funny, but it was water. I splashed some on my face, and that woke me up pretty quick. I wiped my face off on Johnny's jacket and sat down on the back steps. The hill the church was on dropped off suddenly about 20 feet from the back door, and you could see for miles and miles. It was like sitting on the top of the world. When you haven't got anything to do, you remember things in spite of yourself. I could remember every detail of the whole night, but it had the unreal quality of a dream. It seemed much longer than 24 hours since Johnny and I had met Dally at the corner of Pickett and Sutton. Maybe it was. Maybe Johnny had been gone a whole week and I had just slept. Maybe he had already been worked over by the fuzz and was waiting to get the electric chair since he wouldn't tell where I was. Maybe Dally had been killed in a car wreck or something and no one would ever know where I was and I'd just die up here alone and turn into a skeleton. My overactive imagination was running away with me again. Sweat ran down my face and back, and I was trembling. My head swam. I leaned back and closed my eyes. I guess it was partly delayed shock. Finally, my stomach calmed down, and I relaxed a little, hoping that Johnny would remember cigarettes. I was scared, sitting there by myself. I heard someone coming up to the dead leaves toward the back of the church, and I ducked inside the door. Then I heard a whistle, long and low, ending in a sudden high note. I knew that whistle well enough. It was used by us and the Shepherd's gang for Who's There. I returned it carefully and then darted out the door so fast I fell off the steps and sprawled flat under Johnny's nose. I propped myself up on my elbows and grinned up at him. "Hey, Johnny, it's fancy meeting you here." He looked down at me over a big package. "I swear, pony boy, you're getting to act more like Two-Bit every day." I tried unsuccessfully to cock an eyebrow. "Who's acting?" I rolled over and sprang up, happy that someone was there. "What'd you get?" "Come on inside. Dally told us to stay inside." We went in. Johnny dusted off the table with his jacket and started taking things out of the sack and lining them up neatly. A week's supply of bologna, 2 loaves of bread, a box of matches. I got tired of watching him do it all, so I started digging into the sack myself. Whee! I sat down on a dusty chair and stared. A paperback copy had Gone with the Wind? How'd you know I always wanted one? If you're not familiar, it's a book from way back when, set during the Civil War, like written in the 1920s, something like that. But it's about fighting. Johnny reddened. "Now I remembered you saying something about it once, and me and you went to see that movie, remember? And I thought you could maybe read it out loud and help kill time or something." "Gee, thanks." I put the book down reluctantly. I wanted to start it right then. Peroxide? A deck of cards? Suddenly I realized something. "Johnny, you ain't thinking of..." Johnny sat down and pulled out his knife. "We're going to cut our hair. You're going to bleach yours." He looked at the ground carefully. "They'll have our descriptions in the paper. We can't fit them." "Oh, no." My hand flew to my hair. "No, Johnny, not my hair." It was my pride. It was long and silky, just like soda's, only a little redder. Our hair was tough. We didn't have to use much grease on it. Our hair labeled us greasers, too. It was our trademark, the one thing we were proud of. Maybe we couldn't have Corvairs or Madras shirts, but we could have hair. We'd have to anyway if we got caught. You know the first thing the judge does is make you get a haircut. I don't see why. Dally could just as easily mug somebody with short hair. I don't know either. It's just a way of trying to break us. They can't really do anything to guys like Curly Shepard or Tim. They've had about everything done to them, and they can't take anything away from them because they don't have anything in the first place. So they cut their hair. I looked at Johnny imploringly. Johnny sighed. Now, I'm going to cut mine too, and wash the grease out. But I can't bleach it. I'm too dark-skinned to look okay blonde. Oh, come on, pony boy, it'll grow back. Okay, I said wide-eyed. Get it over with. Quick pause. This is hydrogen peroxide. It's the stuff in the brown bottle. If you were a kid at one point and you ever skinned your knee, sometimes your mom would take the bottle and pour it in the top of the cap and pour it on your knee, let it all bubble up and stuff like that. That's hydrogen peroxide. Quick side note, scientific studies have now shown that hydrogen peroxide actually does nothing for healing whatsoever. All it does is cause pain. It's just for the longest time we assumed it did something because it bubbled and hurt you, so we assumed that it was actually healing. It doesn't. I found that out after using it on my daughters and then throwing fits. I'm like, I'm going to show you it does something. So I Googled it. Science! And then it's like, it actually does nothing. Just an old wives' tale. We just use it to torture kids. I was like, oh, sorry, stop crying. So now it doesn't actually do anything. So if your parents try to use it on you, you can just like, no, and just run away crazy. But it does dye hair, which you can put it in your hair. And it works like, for those of you who go to the pool over the summertime, if you go into like the chlorine a lot, it'll like make your hair turn a lighter color. It does the same thing. Peroxide will make your hair turn a lighter color. And so it'll just take it from darker and then just pulls the color out. So they're going to have Ponyboy make his hair lighter, but Johnny is not. The reason Johnny's not going to have his lighter hair is
Because he's too tan.
yeah, he's dark skinned. We're gonna find out like he's part Native American or part Hispanic, but he has darker skin. He's like, yeah, it's not gonna look right with me. He's like, you, Pony Boy, Lily White Boy, you're fine. He's like, me, my darker skin, I'm gonna stand out and look even more strange. He's like, that's not gonna work nearly as much. But they are gonna cut their hair. Quick side note, what are they using to cut their hair?
A knife.
A knife. What was that knife last used for?
Killing
Yeah. Same one we used for stabby on Bob. Is we're like, oh yeah, flip. Now we're gonna cut some hair. It's just the exact same knife, just to put that fun image right there in your head.
What if they wash with hydrogen
Hey,
peroxide?
Donna?
Okay, so I'm Hispanic and black.
Uh-huh.
I have blonde at the end of my hair.
That you do. Don't try and judge it. It's okay. That's why it's only a book. It's not anti-Allen book. So you should be okay. Feel strong.
We're talking about that type of light hair.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
Okay, I said wide-eyed. Get it over with.
Oh my.
Hey, perfect place to stop. I just got it over with. They are going to be leaving the church because something big happens, and that's what we talk about on Friday. Take off. It is not spoopy.